In the 1960s and 1970s, Africa produced some of the most visionary leaders in history. But something strange kept happening. Every time a ruler tried to take control of Africa's resources, he was removed. Some were overthrown, some were assassinated, some died in mysterious circumstances. So when you put their stories together, stable pattern begins to appear. This is a story of African leaders who try to break the system and what happened to them. Let's find it out. In the 1960s, Africa was waking up. Country after country was gaining independence from European colonial powers. New flags, new presidents, new dreams. And for one brief, beautiful moment, it looked like Africa was finally going to be free. But something kept happening. Every time a ruler rose up, who was serious, who was actually had a plan, was building real independence, they disappeared. What replaced them was always someone willing to play by Europe and America's rule. This happened too many times to be coincidence. Let me show you exactly what I mean. June 30th, 1960, Congo gained independence from Belgium after decades of brutal colonial rule. The man Congolese people chose as their first prime minister was Patrice Lumumba, 35 years old, passionate, brilliant, and electric. On Independence Day, with the Belgian king sitting right in front of him, Lumumba stood up and said something nobody expected. He didn't give a polite speech thanking Belgium for leaving. He told the truth. He described the beatings, the forced labor, the humiliation, and the stolen resources right there in front of the king. The room went silent. Belgium was furious. America was watching because Congo had something that made everyone nervous. The Congo was the most mineral-rich country in the entire world. Uranium, gold, diamond, copper, cobalt, and coltan. And Lumumba wanted all of it for Congolese people. He said publicly, Congo's resources belong to Congo. That sentence was his death sentence. Within 2 months, a CIA backup removed him from power. Within 7 months of becoming prime minister, Lumumba was captured, tortured, shot. His body was dissolved in acid, so nothing would remain. Belgium kept one of his teeth as a trophy for 62 years. His family only received it back in 2022. In 2002, Belgium formally apologized for their role in his assassination. The CIA's involvement is confirmed in declassified documents. Patrice Lumumba lasted 7 months for trying to give Congo its own resources. Now let me bring this home because this one is personal. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president, the man who led Ghana to become the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence in 1957. Nkrumah had the biggest dream of any African leader in history. He didn't just want Ghana to be free, he wanted all of Africa to be free together. He called it the United States of Africa. One African government, one African military, one African economy. He believed, and he was right, that divided Africa would always be exploited. United Africa would be untouchable. He hosted African leaders from across the continent. He built alliances. He funded liberation movement in countries still under colonial rule. He was connecting the dots, and that terrified the West. On February 24, 1966, while Nkrumah was on a plane to Hanoi, the CIA backup power. He landed and found out his government was gone. He spent the rest of his life in exile. He died in Romania in 1972, never returned to Ghana. The CIA's role in his overthrow has been confirmed by declassified documents. Nkrumah once said, "We face neither east nor west, we face forward," to make sure he never got the chance to move forward.
In the world, that new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
Damn, this guy was a beast. January 13, 1963, Sylvanus Olympio, the first president of Togo, was shot dead outside the American embassy. He was the first African head of state to be assassinated after independence. Why? Because Olympio had committed one unforgivable act. He refused to use France's safer currency. He was creating Togo's currency independent from France. He had also refused to allow French military bases on Togolese soil. He had also cut trade agreement that benefited France more than Togo. The man who led the coup against him was Nassim Idema, the soldier who had previously served in the French foreign legion. Idema ruled Togo as a dictator for 38 years after that. France recognized his government immediately. What's going on here? Olympio was killed for wanting Togo's money to belong to Togo. For real, United Africa will be untouchable. Bro, let me tell you about this guy, Sankara. They called him Africa's Che Guevara. But I think he was something even more extraordinary. He became president of Burkina Faso in 1983 at just 32 years old. But what this guy did in 4 years with almost no money is almost impossible to believe. He vaccinated 2.5 million children against meningitis, yellow fever, and measles in 1 week. 1 week, he planted 10 million trees to fight desertification. He built schools in every village, roads, railways, so on. He gave human rights that those African countries don't have today. He sold the government's fleet of Mercedes cars and replaced them with cheap Renaults. He reduced his own presidential salary to $450 a month. He refused to use air conditioning in his office because ordinary Burkinabe didn't have it. He told IMF and World Bank, "We don't need your loans, we don't need your condition, we will feed ourselves." He stopped paying what he called the colonial debt. He said publicly, "We didn't borrow that money, we didn't benefit from colonialism, we owe nothing. That's brazen. You take out of my resources and I gotta pay for it." On October 15th, 1987, Sankara was in a meeting when armed men burst in. He was shot 12 times. He was 37 years old. The coup was led by his best friend, Blaise Compaoré. Compaoré immediately restored all the agreement with France. Immediately, he ruled Burkina Faso for 27 years after that. France recognized his government within days. Thomas Sankara's last public words were, "While revolutionaries as individuals can be murdered, cannot kill ideas." He was definitely right. His ideas are still alive. In 2021, Compaoré was convicted of Sankara's murder in absentia by Burkinabe court. 34 years later, what's going on in Africa? Let me tell you about the most complex guy on this list, Muhammad Gaddafi. I need to be honest with you about him because this story had two sides. Gaddafi was not a saint. He was a dictator who suppressed his own people. He funded armed groups across Africa. He had a brutal side that cannot be ignored. But here is what he was also doing. Under Gaddafi, Libya became the richest country in Africa. Free healthcare, free education, free housing, considered a human right, the highest standard of living on the continent. He funded liberation movements across Africa. He supported the ANC in South Africa when almost nobody else would. He had a plan so dangerous to the West. It may have been the real reason they killed him. He called it the gold dinar, a new African currency backed by gold that would replace the safer franc and allowed African countries to trade freely without using American dollars or being controlled by France. It had already accumulated 143 tons of gold and a similar amount of silver for this purpose. Countries like Nigeria, Tunisia, and Angola were ready to join. If this plan had succeeded, African countries would have controlled their own money for the first time. The safer France hold over 14 countries would have collapsed. The American dollar's dominance in global oil trade would have been threatened. France and America could not allow that. In 2011, the Arab Spring protests reached Libya. NATO, led by France, Britain, and America intervened militarily. They said they were protecting civilians, but Hillary Clinton's own declassified emails revealed in 2016 tell a different story. One email dated April 2011 explicitly stated that NATO's intervention was driven by the desire to neutralize Gaddafi's gold currency plan and gain access to Libya oil. On October 20th, 2011, a NATO airstrike hit Gaddafi's convoy as he tried to escape. He was captured by rebel forces and killed. Hillary Clinton, then US Secretary of State, was flamed laughing when she heard the news. She said, "We came, we saw, he died." After Gaddafi, Libya descended into civil war. The richest country in Africa became a failed state. And today in Libya, there are open slave markets, real ones, flame on camera. In the country, America and France say they were liberating. Now let me show you the pattern. Lumumba wanted Congo's minerals for Congolese people, killed. Nkrumah wanted United States of Africa, overthrown. Olympio wanted Togo's own currency, assassinated. Sankara refused to pay colonial debt, killed. Gaddafi wanted African gold currency, bombed by NATO. Many more leaders we didn't even mention. Every single one of them had one thing in common. They wanted Africa's resources to stay in Africa. They wanted Africa to be genuinely, completely, finally free. And every one of them was removed. I want you to think about something. What would Africa look like today if Nkrumah's United States of Africa has been allowed to form? If Gaddafi's gold dinar had replaced the safer franc? I swear to God, we will never know because they make sure we would never know. the men are gone. But the question they were asking, why should Africans will to leave Africa? That question is still alive and it's being asked louder than ever by young Africans who have had enough. If you made it this far, I know you definitely care about history, so hit the subscribe button to subscribe, like the video, share it to your family and friends, and I see you in the next one.